Welcome back to N's Notebook LM. All right, today we are jumping headfirst into a really powerful and, let's be honest, often misunderstood philosophy, the practice of Brahmacharya, as laid out by the famous yogi Swami Sivananda. We're going to unpack the whole thing, from its diagnosis of the modern world all the way to its promised rewards of self-mastery. Right out of the gate, the philosophy hits you with this really stark Sanskrit maxim. And look, this is meant to grab you by the collar. It immediately frames the whole practice not as just some lifestyle choice, but as a matter of spiritual life and death. This quote, right here, is the central pillar that everything else is built on. Okay, first things first, it is absolutely crucial to understand that Brahmacharya in this system is way more than just celibacy. The book defines it as a conscious, active practice. It's about taking the body's most powerful physical energy, what the text calls virya, and deliberately transforming it, upgrading it, into a higher form of spiritual and intellectual power, which is known as ojas. But before we get to the solution, we've got to understand the problem this philosophy is even trying to solve. From the author's point of view, modern life is in a state of crisis, and it's all being driven by one single, incredibly powerful force. I mean, the diagnosis doesn't pull any punches. The book flat out claims the world is gripped by a kind of sexual intoxication. And this isn't meant as just a moral judgment. It's presented as the root cause of a widespread decay that's affecting our health, our intellect, and our character. To really paint a picture of this, the text uses this powerful metaphor. Think about it. A fly sees a flame, and to the fly, it looks like a beautiful, warm flower. But when it gets there, it finds only its own destruction. The text argues that our pursuit of passion works the exact same way. We're drawn to what we think is beautiful, but we just end up getting burned. And the consequences described here are, well, they're devastating. We're not just talking about some vague spiritual drain. This is presented as something tangible that depletes every single facet of a person's life, from their physical strength and mental sharpness to their reputation and their inner peace. So, with the problem defined so starkly, the book then lays out its solution. And it's all built on this really unique understanding of human energy. You could almost call it a spiritual science of transmutation. At the very heart of this philosophy is the concept of virya. This is the vital fluid, the semen, and it's viewed as this incredibly precious substance. The text actually calls it the quintessence of blood and claims that it takes 40 drops of blood to create just a single drop of virya. That really drives home how valuable it's considered within this system. But here's the thing. This vital energy, this virya, isn't meant to be wasted. It's seen as raw fuel that can be refined into something way more potent, ojas shakti. This is described as this subtle spiritual energy that, when virya is saved, it rises up to the brain and powers our higher functions, our intellect, our willpower, our spiritual glow. This right here, this is the core mechanic of the entire practice. Brahmacharya is the process of consciously redirecting that energy flow. So instead of being spent outwards in physical acts, it's channeled inwards and upwards, transforming from raw physical power into refined spiritual and intellectual power. And this whole system is presented as being deeply interconnected. Your mind, your life force energy or prana, and this vital fluid, virya, they aren't separate things. They're like three links in a single chain. The book argues that if you can master any one of them, you get control over the other two. So, how does a person actually achieve this transformation? Well, this is where the book moves from theory to practice and lays out a very clear, actionable path. The path is really built on four main pillars. It involves discipline over what you eat, how you move your body, how you direct your mind, and even who you surround yourself with. Each of these pillars is designed to support that conservation and sublimation of energy. And diet is seen as absolutely foundational. The text sorts foods based on the effect they have on your mind. Sattvic foods, things like milk, fruits, and grains, are said to promote purity and calmness. But rajasic and tamasic foods, like meat, onions, and spicy chilies, are believed to excite the passions, so they should be avoided. Then, the discipline goes even deeper, right into the mind itself. The text challenges the practitioner to completely deconstruct the idea of physical attraction. It argues that beauty isn't some inherent quality in a person, but it's actually a projection of your own mind, your own imagination. The logic is, if you can control your imagination, you can control the impulse. Okay, so let's say someone follows this path diligently. What's the promised outcome? Well, the book describes the results in these glowing, almost superhuman terms. The rewards for conserving this vital energy are described as nothing short of extraordinary. We're not just talking about inner peace here. The text promises a gigantic willpower, a razor-sharp intellect, a phenomenal memory, and even a tangible spiritual aura, or Brahmacharya. It's positioned as the key to unlocking your highest potential and even having the power to move the world. Now, this philosophy isn't just a single, rigid, one-size-fits-all path. The text actually outlines two different ways to apply these principles, recognizing that people are on different stages and paths in life. So for the householder, someone living in the world with a family, Brahmacharya means moderation and regulation. The sexual act is seen as a sacred duty, but it's reserved only for procreation. And after the age of 40, they're encouraged to move to complete celibacy. For the lifelong celibate, the path is total abstinence, with the goal of completely sublimating all of that vital energy for spiritual attainment. The text also puts a very specific and very demanding time frame on this path to mastery. It claims that 12 years of perfect, unbroken celibacy can purify the mind so completely that self-realization, the ultimate goal of the whole practice, can be achieved almost instantly. And ultimately, the book makes a really clear distinction. This whole path is not about suppression, which it sees as actually being harmful. It's about conscious control and purification. The goal isn't to crush the desire, but to make the mind so pure through positive practices like meditation and prayer that the desire just naturally loses its grip on you. This brings us to a final thought. We live in an age that is defined by distraction, where our attention, our mental and emotional energy is constantly being pulled in 1,000 different directions. So the core idea of this philosophy raises a fascinating question for us today. What is the value in this modern world of consciously choosing where to direct our most vital energy? If this topic has captured your interest and you'd like to dive deeper, the book is called Practice of Brahmacharya by Swami Sivananda.